the president would not pardon or commute the sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
This is my video update on this Monday morning, December the 2nd, coming to you from Athens, Greece. Let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with the breaking news that President Joe Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. The pardon covers 11 years from 2014 to 2024. So whatever Hunter Biden was mixed up in during that time period, for example, I don't know, maybe there was some sort of a coup d'etat that happened in some country close to Russia, and Hunter managed to get a seat on the board of some energy company in that country that was coup d'etat, whatever, something like that. If something like that happened, I'm saying if, I'm not saying this happened. I'm saying if something like that happened and Hunter was getting paid by this energy company $50,000 a month, $80,000 a month in order to provide some protection, some cover for various battling oligarchs. If something like that happened, then Hunter doesn't have to worry about anything. He's been pardoned. So, this pardon covers anything that Hunter did over the last 10 years. If maybe he had a notebook or a laptop, I'm not saying this happened. I'm just throwing out examples. Maybe if Hunter had a laptop that he took to a laptop repair shop, and that laptop had thousands and thousands of images and messages, which could get some very powerful people in trouble, even his father. Well, he's pardoned for that as well, I guess. Or if he threw a gun, I'm not saying this happened, if he threw a gun into a trash can, and the way he obtained that gun was by lying on a form, he's pardoned for that. I mean, I'm not saying this happened, because Hunter Biden is, from everything I know about Hunter Biden, he's a Renaissance man. He's a Renaissance man. He's a real estate agent. He's a real estate expert. He's an energy expert. He's an author. He's an accomplished artist. He's a chemist. He's a photographer, a videographer, a vlogger. He's a Renaissance man, a venture capitalist, a lawyer. He's a lawyer. But if stuff like that happened over the last 10 years, and Hunter was mixed up in all of this stuff, laptop stuff, gun stuff, coup d'etat stuff in a country close to Russia, sitting on the board of an energy company, I don't know, I'm just spitballing stuff, just throwing stuff out there. Anyway, no one is above the law, man. No one is above the law. That's what Biden posted on X a couple of months ago or a year ago or whatever. I don't know. I've seen this post from Biden. I'm not sure when he put it up there, but it says no one, what does it say? No one is above the law, right? That's right. No one is above the law. Joe Biden. Dude, bro, Biden, the Democrats, the Republicans, the political elite, the globalists, the EU political elite, they're so freaking above the law. It's not even funny, man. Who are we kidding, man? The law is here, and they're like up there, man. They're like all the way up there. That's how far above the law all of these people are. That's how far above the law they are. Oh, look at that cute little parakeet. Good morning, my friend. Gonna get some breakfast? I don't want to disturb him. Let him get some breakfast. Trust the parakeets. Trust the parakeets. Don't trust anybody else. The parakeets are not above the law. Biden, Clinton, all of them. Ursula, they're all above the law, man. Christine Lagarde, all above the law. All of them. Macron, Trudeau. How many scandals has Trudeau been implicated in? Like 6, 7? Has anything happened to him? No, it's above the law, man. It's above the law. Biden, the Biden White House, in their last couple of months, they are doing anything they freaking want, man. They do anything they want. Pardon Hunter? Check. Lob missiles into Russia? Check. Give Ukraine another 10 billion or 20 billion? Check. No one is above the law. They blow up pipelines, man, and nothing happens to them. Overthrow or start a regime change in Georgia? Check. Activate Al-Qaeda al-Nusra to try and finally get a regime change of Assad? Check. No one is above the law, though. Biden is just taking a scorched earth policy. Biden is flexing his evil genius muscles, man. That's what he's doing. And you want to know something? No one can touch him, man. No one can touch him. No one. Trump put out a post on Truth Social saying something like, is he going to do the same thing with the J6ers or something like that? Whatever. Whatever. Put your post on Truth Social, President-elect Trump. Nothing's going to happen to all these people. Nothing is going to happen to them. And Trump's not going to do anything either. There's nothing that Trump can do. Trump can't do anything. Trump is putting up posts about placing 100% tariffs on BRICS countries if they don't use the dollar. Meanwhile, Biden is regime changing. He's trying to get a regime change in Georgia, trying to get a regime change in Syria, launching missiles into Russia, sending 20 billion to Ukraine. Give me a break, man. 100% tariffs on BRICS countries that refuse to use the US dollar. That's what Trump posted on Truth Social the other day. Do I have his post handy? Let's see here. Do I have it bookmarked? Here we go. The idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful US economy. They can go find another sucker. There is no chance that the BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to America. Yeah, the BRICS countries are going to wave goodbye to America. That's what they're going to do. You're not going to stop them from trying to trade and transact in whatever currency or in whatever way they want. Even Putin said a month ago, he said, look, we have no problem using the dollar, but the United States doesn't allow us to use the dollar. They've cut us out of the dollar, they've cut us out of SWIFT, so we have to find other ways to do business. The same goes for Iran, the same goes for North Korea, the same goes for Syria. The list is just getting longer and longer. The problem it has nothing to do with tariffs or anything like that, or the solution does not involve placing 100% tariffs. The solution involves Trump rolling back all of the sanctions, especially the sanctions that the Biden White House placed on Russia over the last couple of years, which involve stuff like removing Russia from SWIFT. Roll all of those back. And then the dollar slide will stop. And I don't mean the dollar strengthening. I mean the fact that countries are starting to transact out of the dollar, which is definitely happening. Something that never happened 10 years ago, was unheard of 10 years ago. Gaddafi talked about it, and we all know what Hillary Clinton did to Gaddafi, right? But now you hear about it every day that countries are starting to do business outside of the dollar system. So placing 100% tariffs is not gonna remedy that. It's not gonna solve that problem. Stop weaponizing the dollar. You weaponize the dollar, countries are gonna find alternative solutions, especially big, powerful countries like Russia. But is Trump gonna do that? No, he's not gonna roll back the sanctions. Of course not. Because Biden can do whatever he wants, and no one's going to do anything about it. That's why Biden can take Russia out of SWIFT. Biden can place sanctions on whatever country he wants. Biden can ramp up the escalation with Russia to the point where we're almost at a nuclear war, and no one's going to do anything about it. You know why? Because Biden is above the freaking law, man. That's why. That's why. They all are. They're all above the law. All of them. Way above the law. When they can blow up an energy pipeline and nothing happens, that's how you know they're way above the law, man. Like way above the law. Anyway, enough of that. Trump appointed Kash Patel as the FBI director, or he's nominating Kash Patel to become the FBI director. That's a good pick. Kash Patel is a good pick for FBI director. We'll see if the powers that be will allow this pick to go through. We will see. Biden, man. Biden and his crew, they play hardball, man. They don't F around. They really don't F around. The rest of the world is soft, man. The rest of the freaking world is soft. The Dems, the globalists, the Schwabs, all these guys, they don't F around, bro. Whatever they want to do, they freaking do it. And they don't give two Fs. How much money do you think they got out of the washing machine that is Ukraine over the last 10 years? What number would you put that at? $1 trillion, $2 trillion, $3 trillion? How much money? No one knows. No one knows. Rand Paul has called for an audit in Ukraine, and you want to know what Congress tells Rand Paul? Nah, we don't need an audit. We don't need a freaking audit in Ukraine. Now your taxes, your personal taxes, I see there's a little bit of an issue with your taxes. There's $1,000 that you can't account for. It's time for an audit, man. But Ukraine audit? Nah, we don't need that. Syria, man. Syria in chaos. A lot of fog of war in Syria. Hard to figure out what's going on. But the Biden White House, it looks like the Biden White House in Turkey, Israel, they decided that they're going to give one more go at removing Assad, right? Erdogan, there's another world leader that plays hardball, man. Erdogan, remember the NAZI guys in Mariupol, in Azovstal, remember that? And the deal that Putin brokered with Erdogan was that he was going to hold on to these 5 or 10 Nazi fighters, Banderites, and he was going to hold on to them. And that was the deal. They were going to stay in Turkey, and they were not going to be returned back to Ukraine to go back to the front lines. And Erdogan, he he betrayed Putin. He said, "Forget about the deal that we made. I'm giving these guys back." Yeah, man. Erdogan always does this to Putin. He always does this. He always betrays Putin. Always. And Putin just goes back and back, man. Oh, amazing. Erdogan, man, that guy doesn't F around. He doesn't F around, man. He plays off NATO. He plays BRICS. He plays Russia. He plays them all, man. So yeah, he's definitely behind a lot of this, no doubt about it. The Iranian foreign minister is in Turkey trying to figure things out. Lavrov called the foreign minister of Turkey the other day, trying to figure things out. We thought we were friends, Erdogan. We thought that, you were heading towards BRICS and whatever problems we had in the past, like the time when Turkey shot down the Russian fighter jet. Remember that? We thought we've moved past all of that stuff. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Let's give one more go at trying to remove Assad. And of course, they're using the Al-Qaeda, HTS al-Nusra terrorists to try and complete the task of regime changing Assad. How are things going in this conflict? By the way, the Russian media, as people ask me, Alex, how do you know that, where's your evidence that Turkey is behind this? Come on, man. Come on, guys. The Russian media is putting out post after post, if you want to believe the Russian media, but they're not the only ones. They're putting out post after post saying that Turkey has a hand in this. I mean, where is all the equipment? Where is everything coming from? It can only come from one direction. It can only come from Turkey. But how are things in Syria at the moment? It does look like the Russian Air Force is starting to stabilize things. The Syrian army, I don't know what happened there in Aleppo. Who knows what happened there? But the Russian Air Force is starting to deliver some results. It looks like that the advance of these terrorists has slowed down, maybe even come to a stop. I believe the Syrian army set up defenses in Hama as the terrorists were moving towards this region, and they set up a defensive line in Hama. And the Russian Air Force, they're hitting columns of NATO equipment, convoys, supply lines. They're smashing it all. So we still have to give it a couple of more days to see what shakes out of this. The terrorists may get momentum again. I don't know. Maybe the Russian Air Force isn't doing enough. It's hard to tell. But right now, at the moment, it looks like things have, to a certain degree, stabilized in Syria. Assad, he's been working the phones. He's in Damascus. There was no coup of Assad. There was no regime change. There were some rumors that a couple of days ago there was a coup d'etat and Assad was removed. That's fake news. Assad's been on the phone with Russia. There are reports that he was actually in Russia. I actually think he was in Russia before all of this went down, and then he had to return back to Damascus. I think he was on a planned trip to Moscow. He arrived in Moscow. Then this offensive started while he was in Moscow, and he returned back. That's the timeline that I've got. But he's been, since returning to Damascus, he's been on the line with the Kremlin. The Iranian foreign minister was in Damascus. He said that Iran's going to support Syria as well. He's been speaking with Iraq. Iraq is supporting Syria. He's been speaking to the UAE. It looks like they're supporting Syria. Even Saudi Arabia. It looks like Saudi Arabia this time around is saying we're not going for a regime change of Assad. Saudi Arabia was very much involved in the first attempt to remove Assad a couple of years back. They were deeply involved in that. But this time around, it looks like MBS said, nah, we need some stability in a region that's already plagued with all kinds of horrors and conflict. We don't need another conflict this time in Syria. But yeah, so that's the good news. That's the positive. The positive is that you do have a lot of countries in the region that are siding with Assad, and Iran, Iraq. They're actually getting involved in the conflict on the side of Syria. So give it a couple of more days. And I think we'll have a much clearer picture as to what's going on. The terrorists definitely have control of Aleppo. It looks like they have control of the city of Aleppo. But let's see what the Russian Air Force can do. So that's an update on Syria and Georgia. Yeah, Biden, man. Biden doesn't give an F. The Biden White House doesn't give an F. The EU kleptocrats, they don't care either. Georgia doesn't want to enter the European Union. Well, regime change them. And that's not even the issue. The issue is not that Georgia doesn't want to enter the European Union. It's that the European Union on October 30th, this is fact, by the way, you can look this up. On October 30th, on the EU's official website, their ambassador to Georgia put out a statement, and the EU confirmed this statement. This is official. They said that they're suspending Georgia's accession process into the European Union, and this all goes back to their foreign agents law. The EU has taken the position, if you do not take back your foreign agents law, then we're just going to stop your accession process into the EU. And that happened on October 30th. And then Georgia came back a couple of days later, which is very smart. There's a smart move from Georgia. And they said, you know what? You're stopping our process into the European Union? Fine, we don't want to enter the EU. At least we don't want to enter it as beggars. That's what Georgia said. That's what the Georgian prime minister said, his office. We don't want to enter the European Union as beggars. But it was the European Union on October 30th. This is important because Matthew Miller, Kaya Kallas, all of the kleptocrats in Brussels, they're saying that that Georgia, they stopped the process to enter the European Union. No. It was the EU that thought they were going to scare Georgia Dream, right? That's what they thought. They thought they're going to scare Georgia Dream by pulling away entrance into the European Union, and Georgia Dream called their bluff. They said, fine. You want to stop us from entering the EU? We don't want to enter the EU in this way. That was the statement they made a couple of days ago. I talked about this. But Zurabichvili, there's all kinds of protests now going on in Tbilisi, right? Violent protests. With each passing day, the protests are getting more and more violent. So the Georgia Dream government has to get on top of this. And they have a specific timeline. There's a timeline involved. And this timeline will dictate whether Georgia survives as a sovereign, healthy country, or whether it's torn apart by the European Union. It goes down the path of Ukraine, which is exactly what the globalists and the EU want to do to Georgia. So there is a timeline. It's about a 4-week timeline. But with each passing day, the protests are getting more and more violent. The protesters are getting more violent. How do these protesters get all of these weapons? I've seen images of protesters with pyrotechnics and flamethrowers and all kinds of weapons. Of course, they have their EU flags and they have their Ukraine flags. There are reports now that the Georgian Legion that was fighting in Ukraine, these mercenaries have now been sent back to Georgia so they can help the protesters to overthrow the Georgia Dream government. These are not just students who have some misguided belief that being in the European Union would make their lives better. Believe me, it's not. But this is not just student protesters. I'm not saying that there aren't student protesters and these types of pro-EU Georgian citizens in the square protesting, but mixed in with all these people, there are all kinds of professional agitators and protesters. My guess is that they've either been trained by NGOs, like was the case way back in Serbia, right? These types of groups that train certain people to stir up trouble, or they've been flown in, specifically flown in for for this job. That's my guess. I have no evidence of this. I'm just going by my own experience and what I've seen. I've seen protests in Greece about like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. There were some big protests in Greece. And I remember I was walking through the city center, and the protesters, they were dressed all in black, and a lot of them were covering their face. And they were speaking Spanish and Italian, not Greek, Spanish, Italian. I was like, what the F is going on here? And that's when it hit me, right? I kind of had a red pill moment. It hit me. I'm like, something bad is going on here. These people are not from here. Someone else brought them in. Anyway, Zurabishvili, the French-born, French Foreign Ministry former employee, French diplomat, who ended up becoming president of Georgia, she issued a statement saying that she is not going to step down as president. Now let's go back to the timeline that I was talking about. I believe, and if my timeline is off, then my bad, but I think I've got the timeline right. I believe on December 15th, the Georgian parliament votes a new president in, and they already have a leading candidate who is an ex-Manchester City footballer. That's the person that most likely will become the new president of Georgia, or will be voted in by the parliament as the new president of Georgia, Mikhail Kavelashvili. Ex-Man City footballer set to be next Georgian president, according to Politico. Former striker Mikhail Kavelashvili is an outspoken critic of the West. Yeah, he's not a fan of the EU or NATO, this guy. But he's the front runner to become president from my understanding of things. So that vote takes place on the 15th of December. And then on the 28th of December, a couple of weeks after the vote takes place in Parliament, Salome Zurabishvili is done. Her term as president is over. It's that simple, by law, by the Constitution. That's my understanding of things. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not an expert in Georgian politics by any means. So people watching from Georgia, people who understand what's going on better than I do, let me know in the comments down below. But my understanding of things is that the parliament's going to vote in a new president, most likely the new president, who sounds pretty cool. Salome Zurabishvili as president, or ex-Man City footballer as president. I'll take the ex-footballer as president all the time. But this guy's going to most likely be voted in, and then she has to go. That's simple, but she doesn't want to go. She put out a statement saying she does not want to go. She's not going to step down. That was a statement that she put out. She said she's not going to step down, whatever happens. And then she starts lecturing about democracy. The president of Georgia, the current president of Georgia, will not step down from her role as president in accordance with the law and the Constitution of Georgia, then lectures the people about democracy. Democracy in the collective West. This is how democracy is done in the collective West, right? I refuse to step down. Let's talk about democracy now. Unfreaking believable, huh? Yep, nothing says democracy like the president refusing to relinquish her post. So yeah, that's the timeline. So if Georgia can get to the 15th, and then can get to the 28th, and they get Salome Zurabishvili out, then they're in the clear, man. They're absolutely in the clear, and they can focus on making Georgia great. Maybe looking at BRICS, I don't know. But Zurabishvili, she doesn't want to step down because she's been given a task. Her task has been to regime change Georgia Dream. Her initial task was to get Georgia into the European Union and then to get Georgia into NATO. We all know the the plan. Maybe open up a second front against Russia. Maybe a third front, if you consider Syria a second front. Maybe now it's about opening up a third front against Russia. But she hasn't succeeded in her task yet. So she's saying, I'm staying on as president until I complete the job that I've been given by my handlers, by my masters. So Georgia Dream's going to have to remove her come the 28th of December if she doesn't want to leave. And the Georgian Prime Minister said she's going to go. I mean, the Georgian Prime Minister is the guy's being very, very firm, very resolute. He's saying there's going to be no Maidan, and Zurabichvili is going to be gone when we put the new president in. So that is what's going on in Georgia. By the way, Matthew Miller, the State Department spokesman, Count Chakula, Matthew Miller, he posted on X. Where's his post? He said, Georgia Dream's decision to suspend EU accession, that's a lie, is a betrayal of the Georgian constitution. We condemn excessive force used against Georgians exercising their freedom to protect and have suspended our strategic partnership with Georgia. So he's lying in this X post because it wasn't Georgia Dream that suspended the EU accession. As I said earlier, it was the EU that suspended Georgia's accession process. They're the ones that fired first. And he suspends the strategic partnership that the U.S. has with Georgia. That's great. That means no more NGO funding, no more think tanks. That's exactly what Georgia needs. No more meddling in their country. So if the U.S. suspends a strategic partnership with Georgia, that's a win. That's a W for Georgia. But interesting how Matthew Miller, Kaya Kallas as well, she posted about how they don't like the fact that the Georgian authorities are stopping the protesters. Matthew Miller says that he's concerned, that he condemns the excessive force used against Georgians exercising their freedom to protest. And Kaya Kallas, she posted, we stand with the Georgian people and their choice for a European future. That's a lie. We condemn the violence against protesters and regret signals from ruling party not to pursue Georgia's path to the EU and democratic backsliding of the country. This will have direct consequences from the EU side. It's interesting that Miller and Kallas, they're condemning the fact that Georgia is removing the violent protesters from the square where they're tearing things up, where they're breaking everything up and burning things down. They condemn that. Don't touch the protesters, or else you will face consequences. Protesters in France, bad. Protesters in Canada, bad. Protesters in the United States, bad. Protesters in the Netherlands, bad. Protesters in Georgia, good. You see how that works? You see how that works? So yeah, Kaya Kallas, she had her first day as foreign minister of the European Union, and the stunning and brave Kaya Kallas, she threatened Georgia in the X post that I just read you. You will face consequences, direct consequences from the EU side. That's the top diplomat of the European Union, everybody. The top diplomat threatening Georgia. You will face consequences if you do not enter the European Union in the way that we demand you to enter. That's the terms from the top diplomat of the European Union. Join the EU or we will sanction you. We've got tools. So yeah, she starts her first day in the post threatening Georgia. Then she travels to Kiev, of course. Where else is she going to go? She travels with the new European Union Council president, the guy that took over for Michel. His name is Costa. And they travel together to Kiev. They get on a train and travel to Kiev. Well, first they call up the Kremlin and they tell the Kremlin, look, we're going to be traveling to Kiev on a train from Poland. Is that cool? And the Kremlin says, absolutely, no problem. Feel free to travel to Kiev and visit the Green Goblin. And that's what they did. They spent the first day in their new post as council president and as foreign minister of the European Union in Kiev meeting with Zelensky. And this is what Medvedev posted on X. Costa, the new European Council head, and the Russophobic top EU diplomat Kallas turns up in Kiev on his first day. It shows the priority is prolonging the war, not ensuring the well-being of the EU. Happy now, Europeans? Yeah, the Europeans are happy. I don't know. The Europeans have, most of the Europeans, half of the Europeans that I know, at least in Greece and Cyprus, they don't care. They have no idea what's going on, man. They're too busy with other stuff to think about the grift, the conflict, and the grift that takes place in Ukraine. So that's my answer to Medvedev. The Financial Times put out an article with the title, Ukraine struggles to recruit new soldiers as desertions rise. Prosecutors opened 60,000 cases against troops abandoning positions in 2024, almost double the number of the past 2 years. So that's Kaja Kallas' first day as foreign minister. Threat in Georgia, travel to Kiev, talk about more war, more suffering for Ukrainians, as long as it takes, sanctioning Georgia, trying to get more money to Zelensky. Not a bad first day, if you're the foreign minister of the European Union. She also talked about troops in Ukraine as well. Yeah, she said that if there's a ceasefire, if there happens to be some sort of freeze, like what Keith Kellogg is going to most likely propose to Putin, Trump's envoy to Ukraine, if there is a freeze, then absolutely the European Union has plans. She said it. The European Union is discussing, and they're trying to work out how they're going to get troops into Ukraine. So Kellogg talked about this in his policy paper from April. Trump appointed Kellogg as the special envoy. Boris Johnson talked about troops to Ukraine, 100,000 troops into Ukraine if there's a freeze. Macron has been talking about the freeze, and now we have Kaja Kallas talking about if there's a freeze, European troops are going to enter Ukraine. What do we think is going to happen? Or what do they want to have happen? They want troops in Ukraine, man. Absolutely. And Trump might give it to them. If they're European troops, Trump might say, go ahead. It's possible. Very possible. Sullivan was on the Sunday talk shows. Jake Sullivan, Wonder Boy, Whiz Kid, foreign policy whiz kid, Jake Sullivan. He was on the Sunday news shows, and they asked him about the New York Times article, which said that the Biden White House, which doesn't give an F about anything because they are 100% above the law. The Biden White House, they were discussing sending nukes to Zelensky, and they asked Jake Sullivan about this New York Times report, and Jake Sullivan said, no, we're not going to send nukes to Zelensky, to Ukraine. He said they're thinking about other ways to continue to escalate, though. That's what he said. Actually, let me get you his quote. Let me pull up his quote here. White House comments on nukes for Ukraine. Sullivan said, what we are doing is surging various conventional capacities to Ukraine so that they can effectively defend themselves and take the fight to the Russians, not giving them nuclear capability, he told the network, ABC News. So that was Sullivan and what he said. Let's do a clown world and wrap this video up. And today's clown world, courtesy of The Telegraph, they put out an article with the title, Putin's butter problem could help bring peace to Ukraine. Butter thefts are rife in Russia because of war-linked soaring prices, and some supermarket owners keep slabs behind the counter now. Russia has a butter problem, and the butter problem is going to bring down the Putin government. Yeah, I knew it. Did I not call this? Did I not say this a couple of months ago, that Russia's butter problem, that's going to bring down the Putin government? I think I said this in a video, didn't I? just kidding. Just kidding. But let's see what the Telegraph has to say, because this is not really about butter. This article is not about butter. This article is about how Russia's economy is in tatters. Tatters, I tell you, their economy is in tatters. Any day now, the economy's going to collapse. Any freaking day now. Let's just fund Ukraine for another year. Just one more year until the end of 2025. Keep on funding Ukraine, because I'm telling you, Russia's economy is going to collapse. They don't have butter. They're finished. The Telegraph is saying, in a Russian supermarket, a bearded man takes a furtive look around. His brow is creased with tension. Then, with a jerk, he reaches into the shelves, grabs several items, slips them into his rucksack, and dashes for the exit. The stolen goods? Butter. Caught on CCTV, this was yet another butter theft in Russia, driven by soaring prices linked to Putin's war in Ukraine. Supermarket owners now store butter in anti-theft devices or keep slabs behind the cashier's counter. Security sources said 50 butter thefts a week had been reported since October 2024. My God, in a central square in the Russian city of Kazan, Vanya told the Telegraph in October that rising prices were really painful. Inflation had soared across Russia's war-focused economy, forcing up interest rates to 21%. And then the article talks about how Russia's economy is about to collapse. And it all started with the butter. And Vanya telling Vanya knows. If anybody knows the economic state of Russia, it's Vanya. That's who I talk to when I want to find out what's going on in Russia. I consult with Vanya, and Vanya told the Telegraph that there's no more butter, and things are really painful. There's no more butter. Adios, Putin. Yeah. That's the clown world, everybody. It's all about the butter. It's all about the butter. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram. Maybe we're on the Telegraph as well. Telegram, Rockfin, X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like the shirt, the long sleeve shirt I'm wearing today. The bomber jacket that I'm also wearing. We have a huge discount on Reverse Gear merch. Reverse Gear is all of our athletic clothes. Really great stuff, great quality stuff. The link is in the description box down below. Take care.